Hi, it is Ryan with Tall Pines, which is a GM-less card-based game of small town murder and really weird shit. Uses a random image deck, which I find fascinating because it's all free association and can you be weirder than David Lynch? And everyone can be weirder than David Lynch. I use he, him, and I'm going to pass it off to players to introduce themselves. So,
Hello, I'm Alex. They, them pronouns. I'm super excited for this game because I've never seen Twin Peaks, but everyone says the game is like Twin Peaks, and I'll finally be able to figure out what that's like.
and now I stare at Robert.
So I'm Robert, he, him pronouns. I'm also kind of in the same boat. I've never seen Twin Peaks, and I was hoping to discover it through this. And also, I've played with, I think, almost all of you, except for Alex. So, you know, I've had very good experiences playing with Ryan and Sarah before, and Alex, I look forward to playing with you as well.
And I'm Sarah, she, her. I've seen half of one episode of Twin Peaks. It was the first one. And then I stopped. But I am here for murder mysteries and spooky fog and trees. And people in this game.
Because I feel justified when I say, so I watched like maybe 6 episodes of Twin Peaks. I really don't like it very much. People keep saying that seems like it would be your jam, and I'm like, there's a lot of this that I should love, but I don't. Really, the only scene that I think is worth it is the one where Special Agent Dale Cooper is divining who is responsible, or actually who has more information about the murder than they're saying by throwing rocks at a bottle because Zen, I guess. It's completely bizarre, and that's the tone that we want for this game. Anyway, I also don't feel bad when I trash talk David Lynch a bunch because, I mean, fuck David Lynch. I don't enjoy any of your work. I feel like I should, but I don't. Okay, cool. So, first things first, that smattering of really tiny cards on here is your secret. It really does not matter which one you grab. Just grab one you like the look or colors of and drag it to your hand. This is a secret scene that you may or may not unlock through play, depending upon the tones that we hit in the game. I think actually if you right click, a take card is on the menu. Does everybody have a card? I saw one run away. And now it's back. I don't mean to mock you, Sarah, but it's
I'm just trying to. I don't have a mouse, so I right click. Command also doesn't do anything.
I think I can give it to you. Yarp. No, stop. Why? Take the card. Nope, nope, nope. Give that card to Sarah.
Yes, I accept the trade.
Cool. Okay, now you have a secret. If you look at your card, it'll have a series of tones. Through each scene, we're going to play in cards that have one of those tones on the bottom of it. If at any point you realize that a scene has included the 3 tones on your card in any order, mention that because you will immediately start the next scene with the secret that is revealed on the back of this card, which we will find when we play it. I think normally you would be able to flip it, but Roll20 is a hateful beast when it comes to this. At the very bottom of... Why is it not letting me do the nifty thing where I make circles? Whatever. I hate you, Roll20. The very, very bottom of this playmat, there is a row of 8 cards that are character archetypes. We only need 6 of them. But as I was saying, dealing cards, especially the way Palpine's cards are laid out in Roll20, doesn't always work. So I'm just going to let you pick which ones you want. We're going to go through, I think, twice and then... Not quite twice. I can do math. Each time you will pick a card, assign a name for it, and answer that question in the narrow black bar in the middle of the card to introduce this character. Before we get into that, though, we need to establish the victim of our murder. Some things are established already. The victim was 18 years old at the time of their death, well-liked, viewed as a good kid, and has some connections to people in town that are vague yet, but will come to light as we see how deep this weird web goes. Generally, they are the town's best and brightest, struck down in the prime of their life. Everyone loves them. We're gonna have, like, roadside memorials or something. And we will need to name the victim. So at the moment, all we need is a name. And I'm terrible at names, so I'll ask if anyone has a good victim name.
How about Victor?
Rad. Does anybody have a last name for Victor?
We can go full, like, Walking Dead, and you have something like Graves.
Well, that's the name now, because we are not being light with our symbolism, I guess. Victor Graves is our victim. We do not yet know very much about him. Or is it a him? What pronouns does Victor Graves use?
I'm down for Ziza.
Sweet. Okay, so as we pick out our... Why do you hate me so, Roll20? I have been only nice to you. As we pick out our cast of characters, protagonists, if you will, but some of them may turn out to be the murderer. We don't know yet. Each one is going to have a question that establishes a little bit about the victim. Except I think the federal agent just establishes a bit about someone else. People are already calling dibs on who the murderer is. Is this going to be a race to see who is not the murderer? So it says that you start this scene off by who brought the game, but I brought the game. And I feel like disclaiming decision making. So I'm going to start it off with most likely to fight a dead person, who is Sarah. You have to go first. Pick any one of these, give them a name, and answer the question.
Okay. And I do this by editing a token.
Because dragging is going to be a pain for you with no mouse. Feel free to just call dibs on one, and I'll drag it where it needs to go and put in the text.
Okay. Bad influence.
So what is our bad influence's name? And what did they tell the victim? I mean, what did the victim tell them they were scared of?
Name is Georgia. She, her. And Victor told me Z was scared of. Out by the lake. Z sometimes took walks, and sometimes Z, late at night, of course, saw something moving out there in the water. Just got a bad feeling.
I made the mistake of dragging it, and now Roll20 is trying to help in the least helpful ways. Anyway, I guess I'll open this up to the room. Who of our remaining people feels that they are next most likely to fight a dead person?
Dibs.
I was pretty sure it was Alex. Go for it. Pick one.
Best friend. Best friend names. Let's go for Sam. And he, him pronouns. And I believe it says, what part of the victim's life did you envy most?
Yes, it does.
Sweet ass. So I think Victor was going to like inherit a lot of the town as like a child of an influential person in nameless small town. And so I think he got away with a lot of shit that no one else could. Like everyone just bent over backwards to make Zer happy. And I was just so jealous that they couldn't be me.
Awesome. Robert, how about you pick one?
I'm going to take privileged athlete,
Sweet.
and I'm going to name Teddy, and say he, him. And why did you think your relationship with the victim was just for show? I think very much they pretended to be friends, but in reality, Teddy was just having Z do his homework. That was his way of getting through school. But I think it was very much I will get you into the popular groups and the popular parties. You just do my homework. And that's how it goes.
Ooh. Okay, cool. And because I know how I roll, and we've already established that everyone wants to see them do the murders, I'm gonna grab federal agent. Who has to actually have a last name? Agent. So we have Special Agent Ellen Kwan, who is following this murder because who finds this murder is connected to the case. Oh fuck! I should have put in a pronouns. I know how to do stuff. She, her. No, stop. Why do you hate me so? And this murder is connected to the case she's been following because I'm gonna say the method perfectly matches, or apparent method perfectly matches a case that's been cold for like 10 years. But oh no, a new murder has sprung up. Is this the work of a serial killer on a hiatus or something? So back to Sarah. Pick another one.
Local sheriff.
So name and what outside influence do you suspect is somehow responsible for the murder?
Just trying to create a text box. How does one do that?
Oh, in the I, you should be able to select text, and then you click where you would like to type. Although, if you don't want to be bothered with it, I am happy to note take and swear at Roll20.
And the question is, what outside influence do you suspect is somehow responsible for the murder? It's summertime. and there's a lake, so we do get a lot of tourists come in, and I think there's some sort of fair or festival that's probably in town as well. So there's definitely the tourists.
So, the outside influence we believe is responsible for this murder is tourism. How do you spell sheriff? Okay. Fun fact, we don't have sheriffs here, and the first time I saw a sheriff's car, I legit asked the person next to me if it was a reenactment sort of thing, because it was adorable, and they had to politely tell me that sheriffs do exist. Cool. Okay, we have one more to identify, and I guess I'm not going to pick on someone for that one. So either Alex or Robert, if one of these calls to you, feel free to call dibs on one remaining character in our cast.
Dibs.
Okay, that was rapid. What do you want?
Student filmmaker. Oh crap, I have not thought of a name. Let's go for Mandy. And pronouns. So what movie character does the victim remind you of? I think to Mandy at least, Victor looked like the shining hero in like any superhero movie that would just come in at the last second and fix everything, make everything right. I'm too lazy to think of an actual character name, so that is all I have got.
If you pick an actor that starts with Chris, you've got like half of them there. So, but yeah, the generic superhero in a superhero movie seems fitting. That encompasses a lot of feelings too. Okay, now I'll get rid of these other secret cards because we do not need them. Away you go. So, as I mentioned, we're going to have a deck of just weird symbols. I am dealing some out right now. These are intended to be interpreted as broadly and vaguely as you like. And there's always going to be 6 there too. At any point during a scene that is not your scene, you can decide that you want to affect it a little and play in one of these symbols. Like, something's going on, and I say, but then you get punched in the face, only with more details. I would play that punching card. And then when the scene's over, it would enter my hand, so I can continue to play punches into any scene I want, until I use it to buy an extra scene card. Everyone will have, yes, a tourist punches you in the face. That sounds like tourists. Tourists are terrible. everyone is going to get 3. Whoops. I think I accidentally played one out in the deck. No, go away. Stop. Shuffle. Okay, but are you volunteering to punch someone or to be punched, Sarah? Everyone's going to get 3 of these scene cards. Which are very small in the way it shows it. That's not super helpful. Come on, Roll20. Why are you terrible? These, again, are meant to be interpreted as broadly as you like. Like, I will deal out another one here to show off. Stop. Okay, so, like, this one is atop the falls. Thick mist swirling and settling on everything. The roar of the falls seeming to contain voices, whispers, wails. If someone else here, you could have, waterfalls there. You could have weird whispers. You can do whatever you like with that. Your scene just somehow has to touch on that note. Everyone is going to get to set 1 scene per act, but in order to set a scene, you must have one of these scene cards remaining in your hand. It's worth noting that you may complicate other people's scenes, or make them cooler, whatever, by playing one of your scene cards into it. So, if Alex has a scene that takes place at the diner, I can play in a card like their other reputation, where maybe the darker side of Victor comes to light or something, and that has to become part of the scene. Everyone can only play in 1 card to a scene, but if I play my scene cards into all of your scenes to complicate them, and then I have no scene cards left in my hand and no symbol cards, which I can discard and buy a new scene card with, I just don't get a scene that act. So it's up to you. If you want to make sure you have a scene, make sure there's still something in your hand when it comes around to you. If not, no worries, we'll just move on. And why did I get rid of this one before I shut off? Bottom of all of your cards will have one of those tones, like this one says, understanding. The bottom of all of our protagonists have a tone as well. When we play that into the scene, like let's say the privileged athlete is in this scene, we have 2 understandings. If you have a secret that includes like 2 understandings and shame, you could then play a shame scene in here, and voila, you have unlocked your secret. The next scene will be revealing your secret. Need not be, though. And I will keep a tally of what tones are showing up, because those will ultimately influence the endings of our scenes. I mean, the endings of our acts. There's a lot of moving parts here, most of which are not terribly important, but will become apparent through play. So, the main thread of this... Oh, I think I heard somebody do a thing.
Yeah, I just had a question real quick, because they're
Yes.
listed in my hand as Act 1 scenes. How many acts are we doing?
We're doing 3 acts. And at the end of each round of scenes, there'll be an act close card that will have some question to determine who goes first. Like, one of them is whoever was last on video, which is an exciting question when we are all currently on video. So it often comes down to who was last in a game. I don't know if we're going to see that one, but still. Those will become apparent when we get to them. Is there anything else I really need to describe? Oh, when you go to set a scene, you will pick one of these protagonists to be in it. The scene must include at least 1 protagonist. I believe. I might be lying. Yes. And you can feel free to announce that you want other characters, including NPCs we haven't seen before there, and just assign people to play them. Everyone can jump in and talk if you like, or it can just be you having a solitary moment for this scene. Whatever works. So at this point, it goes to whoever has an idea for a scene is supposed to go first. So if anyone does, I will let them go.
I've got another question. Is there a way to like make the
Yes.
cards in a hand bigger so that we can actually read the text? I think you're muted.
Of course I am. I couldn't get that out of the way before going live. If you click on one of the cards in your hand, it'll blow up and fill the screen so you can read the text on it. It's not in the rules, but I really like that rule, so I'm going to add it in here. Then we can use for the queen rules if a card in your hand just does not speak to you or introduces something you would rather not introduce to the story, you can feel free to exit and just delete that card and draw a new one. I'm not the boss of you. And as much as I enjoy staring at all of you, if you would rather that I go first and set up a scene so you can see how they go, I am willing to do that and be tribute. But if someone has an idea, I don't want to jump in over you.
Go for it.
Sweet. Okay, so I am going to play the card The Vice Principal's Office. Plastic chairs and a door that doesn't lock. A truly poor place to carry out an interrogation. And I think this includes the best friend, Sam. And, as I mentioned, but now it's actually relevant to the game, if at any point you would like to introduce things like, I don't know how you would introduce these images, but you're all creative. There could be a dog outside. I don't know. You can play one of those in and describe it however you like, and it becomes part of the scene. You could also play one of your scenes in, and that becomes a complicating factor in the scene. Or the setting changes. Like, you could play in the diner, and then the scene cuts to the diner. That's just happened now. Things can be weird. David Lynch doesn't make any sense. Fuck you, David Lynch. I will fight you. So this scene opens in the vice principal's office, which, has those awful plastic chairs that aren't comfortable for anyone because they're like made for the average human who has never existed. And all the legs are just slightly off so that all of them are a bit tippy. Some are worse than others, but none of them actually sit flat. And you see Sam sitting in one, like trying not to tip it, but failing and kind of tipping back and forth in front of the desk of the vice principal, who has stepped out for a moment. But we can see Sam kind of fidgeting, looking a little sad, having been called in to discuss the fact that, yes, your best friend died recently, and we're all a bit worried, especially given that your grades have been plummeting. And Sam sits there, fidgeting a little, chair tipping back and forth, helps himself to one of the tissues on the desk and kind of dabs at his eyes a bit. As the vice principal comes back in it's like kind of meh brown polyester suit, like trying to look nice, but this is a small town, no one's very fashionable here. Sits down behind the desk and is like, so, I know you're going through a lot, and I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but everyone's a little worried that you just... Do you need to speak to the school counselor? And Sam's going, this counselor only, picks out classes and stuff. They're not actually like a counselor. Calling them a counselor isn't going to make them a therapist or something. And the vice principal sits back and goes, this isn't like you. You're not normally so combative, and I'm not sure why you've been this way before. And you can tell that they've had this conversation several times in the past week or so. And it's just not helping. Sam tears up a little. The vice principal pushes the tissues closer. Like, I just want you to know that we all care about you a great deal, and if there's anything we can do to help, we will. Sam goes, I don't need help. I just need someone to figure out what happened. It seems like nobody really cares about, Victor. He's dead and we don't know why. Why aren't people doing this? I should be out there looking for clues or something. I don't need to know about math. Come on. Principal just goes, I understand that you're very upset, but, the authorities are in on this. The FBI has even sent in an agent to town. It's well in hand, and what you can do most, and what I think Victor would want you to do, is focus on your studies. And Sam screeches back the chair with a horrible, metal on linoleum screech. Because you don't know anything about what Victor would want. Don't you dare tell me about what Victor would want. And storms out of the room. And I think that is the end of our scene. So, I'm marking down that we had understanding and shame. Delete that scene card and return our best friend to the protagonist line. And that is my scene. I will not frame another this act.
Think. Okay, so I'll do the next one if I can move my card.
I will scoot it up.
Okay, so definitely Georgia, and I'm thinking maybe also Mandy. So Georgia has come to Victor's house. It's not too long after this meeting in the principal's office. But I think it's like after the funeral, but she came but like didn't talk to the parents at all just because they're not on super good terms. And I think actually let's just have Mandy in the scene. I think that's better. Bring that back. I think he's coming just to get a few shots of the house, like a memorial thing for Victor. Maybe talk to the parents is what he's hoping, but they've not been receptive. Obviously, they are grieving. But he's kind of just, walking past across the street, stopping, like not making a secret of it. But through the window, you can see Victor's parents just talking, and I think the sheriff is there as well, Jasmine, and he gets just seems in video of them just talking. And you can't tell at all what they're saying, but the emotion there is grief and anger and like trying to be calm and failing because it's been a while and they haven't seen any progress, and I think that's all that he can get from the video. He comes a little bit closer, just enough to hear the tone of the voices. And I think when the sheriff comes out, she sees Mandy, and like he quickly hides the video camera, but it's too late. Like Jasmine's seen it, and she kind of comes over and just, what are you doing out here? What are you doing with that? And he just sort of freezes because he's not supposed to be here like this. Like this is weird, and he knows that. And the sheriff demands the video camera, and hands it over very quietly. It's like I'm gonna get that back, right? I just take the video, but I need that for I have some projects on, and just take care of it, okay? And the sheriff like nods and just it's the 70s, so it's probably really big. One of those meh. But assures her that, they'll get it back and eventually, after all this is blown over.
I was waiting to play a card in, but that seemed kind of tight on its own. As the person who framed the scene, you are the scene's director. You can cut it whenever you like.
Okay, yeah.
Or you can cast people if you want them to be in it.
Okay. Let's cut it there.
So, I didn't point this out before because it didn't happen in the last scene, but each of these protagonists also has a question on their card that relates to the protagonist. I mean, not question, so much statement. If you uncovered the town's secrets in the last scene, flip this card over, and then that will reveal a different thing to push for and have a different tone. So, I don't think the Filmmaker discovered the town's secrets, but if at any point you do, it will reveal a different side of the Filmmaker.
So, one question.
Yes.
Because I happen to have the same exact card that was just played. I don't know if that's supposed to be the case.
That shouldn't happen. That means that something went sideways. Feel free to discard that card and draw another one. Or I guess if you want to play the house on Euclid Avenue, you could play it again. I'm not the boss of you. We have run into a weird side case.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, there could be multiple people heading over there, so... actually, if you don't mind, I guess I'll go next.
Do it.
And I'm going to frame a scene with the federal agent now also going to the house on Euclid Avenue. And I think kind of nobody sort of really wants the special agent around. Her presence here has sort of made everybody very uneasy.
I'm going to play a symbol into this scene, saying that even Victor's scruffy, like, rat terrier mix or something doesn't want the special agent around and comes out barking and barking and barking and barking as she approaches the house.
Yeah, I think, like, she's maybe coming up. I think the sheriff is still there. I mean, this is sort of a scene where the sheriff might be there. It might be a different situation than when Mandy was there. And Ellen comes up and she's just trying to talk to the sheriff. And the sheriff just, honey, I'm sorry, I just can't hear you. This dog is too loud. You know what? Look, you just come by my office sometime, and we'll get this all sorted out. I'll answer all the questions you want, but look, right now, you really just need to respect this town's privacy. And I think she's just extremely, extremely frustrated and just looking around and saying nothing really that can give her any sort of hope to, like, resolving this situation. And she wants to talk to the parents. He's kind of in her way. Or I'm sorry, she's in her way. And I think the scene just stops there with just the dog barking like crazy as the special agent is just visibly extremely frustrated.
I'm going to play in the train track card and just say that the way this scene cuts out is that we hear that train in the distance, the whistle and the and it just gets louder and louder and louder until it's all we can hear, and then black.
Yeah, the show's volume itself doesn't want the special agent to hear anything of use. So, if this federal agent got inside the killer's head in the last scene, flip the card over. But that didn't happen, I don't think. So, everyone who played a symbol card now adds that symbol to your hand. It is yours to continue playing all the time if you wish. Do you need assistance in doing that, Sarah? How did I do this last time? Oh, I'll just give it to you. new symbol for the symbol row. Cool.
There's a limit to the number of symbols we can play in a scene, right?
We can only play in 3 complicating cards total. And each person can only play in 1 card. So we could play in 3 symbols to a scene if everyone wants to add one.
Gotcha. I believe it's my turn, yes? Yeah, let's do it. We are gonna have a scene where Z was found with everyone's favorite local sheriff. I think this is after Jasmine's done the house visit and confiscated Mandy's camera. And I think Jasmine was reviewing the footage and noticed like some weird flickering going on at the lake. And so she decides, like, even though she's pretty sure they found everything, to go back there once more and see if there's anything they missed. So once she's there at this like stony lake, it's like very cold and unaccommodating. She's been like searching around for a while, turning up stones, looking at anything like broken twigs that could be some kind of hint, and just finding nothing. And like as she reviews the footage once more to see where this like weird flickering was coming from, and like just can't recreate it. It's like turning the camera on in frustration. And I think it hits the lake for a second. And did you want to introduce something, Sarah?
Do you have a place you're taking this, or can I?
I was going to use I was going to use the mirror, but
okay.
If you want to cut it in something else.
I think there's a waterfall on the far side of the lake. Like this is how where it comes from. There are mountains in the distance, and like that's where the flickering in the video is most urgent seeming. Gets like really, really bad when it swings over there, and like the video doesn't focus on that at all. But when it pans, you notice the increase in intensity.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think Jasmine sees this and goes over towards the waterfall. I think as she's tracking it down, getting closer and closer, she stops for a second with the camera focused on the lake. And I think we see a reflection of Victor in the water. Just like sitting, knees huddled on the shore, shaking and like looking out with fear onto the lake. And I think I'll cut it there.
Cool. So, I think the local sheriff did seek details about the murder in the last scene, given that they went to the murder scene. I mean, she went to the murder scene, now that we have pronouns. So I'm going to flip that card over. Unless you think she did not, Alex, because it is your scene. You have final say.
I think that is totally legitimate to flip that card.
So now the local sheriff represents resolve, and we'll need to expose guilt in the town to flip. So, at the end of our Act 1, our tones are tied between predominant shame and predominant understanding. So those will be 2 options to round out our Act 1 closing scene. Did everybody get the symbol cards they played into that back?
How are you doing this, Ryan?
I'm right-clicking and adding take card. Clicking take card. But if you can't right-click, then that's probably not gonna work super great for you. long press. I mean, I don't know what's applicable to your setup. Oh, yeah, that sets off the circles so you can show people what you're looking at. And now
Do it for me.
so many bubbles everywhere. I wish there was a way to, instead of taking it into my hand and then giving it to you, just force you to take the card. That would be so much quicker. Cool. So now we come to Act 1 close. If you've got Act 1 scenes in your hand, go ahead and discard them. We don't need them anymore. Actually, I can just recall all of the cards. Ha ha ha. Recall. Sweet. And hide that deck because we don't need it. Why do you start off so tiny? Okay. So, hide that. When everyone has heard one scene this act, whoever last cheered for a sport starts a new scene with this prompt. So who has last cheered for sporting events?
I'll take dibs on that. I was cheering for March Madness earlier today, so.
Oh, yeah, that beats me then. I was going to say, if it comes down to that, I may have cheered a little for Kofi on SmackDown this week, but that was like Tuesday.
Me too, also.
Yes! Got robbed. It should be at WrestleMania.
Kofi Mania.
Yes! I'm going to flip this real quick so we can see the other side. Because we have a tie, you can pick either the understanding or shame ones, which are including an act of unwarranted brutality or including an act of cheating or sabotage in this scene. Feel free to flip that card back and forth as you need to do stuff, but it is up to you to frame this scene of the game that could have been canceled but is going on because small town sports are important.
Well, I think our scene has to include Teddy as the privileged athlete. He's surely, probably, I would put him as the star running back. He's not even good enough to be quarterback. And yeah, I think I'm going to choose the understanding. So include an act of unwarranted brutality. And I think, there's no way they could cancel this game. They had to do it. The other team even sort of felt bad about it, but some of the players on the other team were kind of offended because they thought that, oh, well, you guys, somebody died, whatever. Now you're going to play harder and you just think you're going to be better than us. All the media, the local media is giving you extra credit. They think you're going to beat us just because one of your friends died. And I think one of the opposing team's defensive players has sort of a chip on his shoulder. And I think there's a play where Teddy is coming in. He's running the ball, and one of the other players just goes for an absolute cheap shot and just tries to just hit him head to head. And probably they do hit head to head. They collide. And I think they both fall down. It's a good tackle. But Teddy gets back up, and the opposing team their player is just down on the ground, and he's not getting back up anytime soon. Um, and they basically have to not call the game, but the game is definitely on like a hiatus as they bring in medical officials and everything else to obviously take care of the player who's down. And I think Teddy's just kind of beside himself.
Can I introduce something?
Oh yeah.
I think using this
Yes, these are interruptible like regular scenes.
wonderful fist card. I think the captain of unnamed small town team grabs the player who's downed and obviously injured and just hoists them up and starts yelling like right in their face. Like, what the heck was that? What do you think you're doing? And just lays into them as like eventually they have to be separated by like a bunch of adults around them before the opposing team player is taken away.
I like that, and I think Teddy actually goes over to try to help break up the fight, like calling off his guy and like trying to help the other guy. And I think that's probably where I would cut the scene.
Cool. So that is the end of our first act. And I'm going to say, why don't we take like a fiver and meet back at 25 past the hour, whatever hour it is for you, and we'll launch into Act 2. Welcome back. Act 2 is pretty much second verse, same as the first, as far as all this goes. We'll once again get 3 cards and play an interrupt as we have before. And as with the last act, it's just whoever has an idea can go first. There's no strict order, though everyone only gets to frame one scene. Oh, and because now people actually have symbol cards in their hands, at least some of them, at any point you can return a symbol card to the symbol deck to pick a new scene card. So, if you don't feel like hanging on to punches, you can trade them in for a new scene, and someone else will draw punches and continue playing them. Yes, I use that as an example, knowing that Alex will never relinquish the ability to play a punch into any episode. And here's where I start humming the Jeopardy theme song or something. 'Cause I went first last time, so nose goes.
I mean, I'm usually all for bags not, but I think I've got an idea. Everyone's cool with me. Jumping in? Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
We're going to have a questioning scene. Seems like everywhere you look, every question you ask, their name comes up. Or her name comes up. Because we're going to have the local sheriff interrogating the bad influence. So I can call other people to be another PC, right?
Yeah, you can cast whoever you like as any character you want in the scene.
Nice. Anyone feel like being a bad influence?
My idea was for a next scene was the bad influence, so hopefully this will lead into that. I take it.
Oh, nice. Let's do it. So I think we've probably got like the same chair provider as in school, and that the chairs are really uncomfortable and you can never balance them. Even the table is pretty wobbly. You can see like some trammed papers underneath one of the legs. I think
Can I,
Jasmine,
can I get like some water or something?
I mean, you won't be here for long. Just bear with it.
That's what they said last time. Kept me for 5 hours.
Yeah, well, if you've got nothing to hide, this will all be over very quickly.
Should I get like a lawyer or something?
I'm sure you'll be fine.
I do want to interrupt and say that I think Georgia is probably just smoking without even asking about it and just kind of blowing the smoke into the sheriff's face.
Just get this glare as she wafts the smoke away. And I think she'll pull out some photos of like the area next to the waterfall. And I think Mandy had like a bunch of at least stills of Georgia without like much explanation. Probably there's going to be like a voiceover later. And you're like, so, Georgia, I hear you were on good terms with Victor.
We were friends, yeah.
Did you
Doesn't mean
ever
I killed him.
I'm not saying that. We're just trying to find out what happened.
So why is there a bunch of pictures of me?
That's what I want to know. Someone thought that you, pointing to your photo on the table, and this place, pointing to the lake, were connected somehow. Have you ever been here before?
This is a small town. There's one lake. Yeah.
Have you ever been there with Victor before?
A couple times. Not the waterfall specifically. He didn't like to go out there.
Why didn't he like to go out there? Think.
I'm gonna play a card. Da, da, da. A sick place, a hidden entrance, moisture, identifying objects gonna get someone undeniably to the place. I think that the lake, at least to Victor, was a sick place and just felt wrong and awful. Although, if you want to warp it more, feel free, because you have a weird mind.
Oh, I'm touched. And I can include symbols on my own thing, right?
I mean, I don't think it's strictly forbidden, but I'm all for it, so do it. Play into your own hand. Whatever.
Just because I like the mirror. I think seeing this like shrug, Jasmine is gonna slam her fist on the table. You're like, I saw him. I saw Zer. I saw Zer there. He was frightened and shaking, and I need to know why.
Do
you want us to find the killer or not?
When you slam your hands down on the ground, I think like the cigarette sort of falls out of my hands because like surprise. Like he just said it made me nervous. Okay. But then like leaning down to pick it up because I dropped it on the floor.
What did you say, sorry?
As he said it made you're nervous. Okay, just stuff out there.
What stuff?
I don't
He's
know.
Dead.
Well, how do you even know how he died? How has he died?
We're working on it.
He just said he saw stuff out there. I don't know.
Lake's never had a good reputation, but never had something like this before. hear anything, you remember anything, you think you heard anything, let me know. And don't think you're off the hook. I'm watching you.
Telling you I didn't do it.
We'll see. I think I might cut it there.
And because we have a bunch of tones out here, I'm going to say, if anyone has some combination of 2 resolves, an understanding, and a shame on their secret card, feel free to flag that you have a secret to reveal. I don't think our sheriff exposed guilt, so I'm going to put that card back. I did the bad influence show their feelings. Her feelings, do you think?
No.
Yes, shock, horror, betrayal. Feel free to take back your mirror, Alex. I think that was Alex.
All right, and I said I had to see next. Is that all the wrap-up stuff for that one we need to do?
Yep, that one is cleaned up and ready for you to complicate a new scene.
Okay, so the same day, probably like minutes after, Georgia probably heads straight from the police station out to the lake. And it's like the middle of the day. There are tourists like sunbathing, and there's some people swimming, but we just see this shot of her just like standing sort of behind all of that, and just the back of her, looking at it. It's like it's sunny. It's as sunny as it gets around here, and you can just hear people laughing and talking. And she just walks like straight out toward the lake and into the water for about a foot, and then like along the edge of it toward the waterfall. And when she gets there, she calls Victor's name, and it just echoes back at her under the sound of the water.
Are you playing a scene card into this?
Oh, oops. Yes. Someone cracks. No one wants to watch this moment, but someone is going to have to help them, talk them down, take them home, lie and say it's not so bad. And I think as Georgia is yelling and like sort of starting to cry a little bit, let's see. Remind me, it was let's say it's Sam, the best friend. It's unclear why he's out here. But we just see him in the tree line, up sort of at the mouth of the waterfall where it's coming down. And he just shouts.
Rapid interruption to establish the tree line is a stand of pines because this is the town of Tall Pines. But continue.
Do you want to play that card?
Oh, I did play a card. There's pines there.
And he calls down to Georgia, and like we see him like clambering down the rocks and sort of making his way down onto the level of the lake, and he just like takes her and like says, you know, it's okay, they'll find who did it, it'll all go back to normal, it'll be okay. And they walk back like toward the more populated part of the lake. And cutscene. Can you flip the bad influence card for me?
Yes, that influence definitely showed the feelings. The new one is if you did something violent in the last scene, flip this card over. So our bad influence might crack. More than just happened. I don't think our best friend did something risky. Did anyone need 2 shames and an understanding for a secret? Can't remember what sort of things
I
you
did.
have.
I did.
Would you like to play your secret scene then?
I can't turn my card over, so I don't know what it is.
Play it out onto the what is it? Playmat thing.
Okay. It is off to. Yep, you got it.
Yarp. And let's flip it. So for viewers at home, should that ever be a thing, the secret says to choose a protagonist and then choose 3 symbol cards and use them to create a scene that answers the question below. This question is, where do you find the victim's car, and what do you find in it that demonstrates the victim's improper desires, for whatever degree of improper we want to go.
So, and I can take any of the image cards that are here at the bottom, or include ones from my hand or other people's?
I think it expects you to grab them from the symbol card row. If you have ones in your hand you want to use, go for it. I don't think you can swipe one from other people's hands. Although, if Alex wants to play a punch-in, I'm not going to stop that.
Neither am I.
So I think the federal agent finds Victor's car by the lake, but set back a bit, like, so it's not immediately obvious, but it's surprising they haven't found it already. It's not exactly near the waterfall, but it's closer to that than to like the shore where they like set off boats and sell food and things. And I'm gonna play one from my hand. It's close enough to the railroad tracks they can hear a train passing. And in the trunk of the car is a wetsuit, and like a paperwork, unsigned still, for diving lessons, like real, not quite scuba diving because it's a lake, but like and the date for that class is the week before Victor went missing. Actually, let's say it's signed and done. It's like Z took those classes.
Dun dun
Cutscene.
dun. Yeah, so now you get all of those symbol cards in your hand. Return the federal agent protagonist row. And you do not get a new secret card that's a one per game sort of thing. Cool. So, do you want to go next, Robert, or shall I for Freemium Scenes?
I'll go ahead and go next. And I'm going to play a Secret Tryst. To which I'm going to call Teddy and Sam. As far as where they're meeting, I think it's probably in a school classroom, actually, like after hours. Maybe in between like school ending and football practice starting. Because Teddy wanted Sam to meet up with him, and he wanted to talk about the situation with Victor. Because they were both obviously very close to Victor. Obviously. I think Sam shows up and he's just immediately suspicious. It's like, what? You don't even care about Victor. Like, what's the deal? What do you want to know? And Teddy just like looks at him and his eyes are kind of glazed a little bit. He's like, bro, like, since early in this season of football, like, my memory is gone. Like, the only reason I'm passing my classes is because of Victor. I don't even remember when Victor died. Bro, you gotta help me. Like, you were Victor's best friend. Like, please help me pass my classes. I gotta get this scholarship. And I think Sam actually feels kind of bad about it. Like, he's never had any ill will toward Teddy. And he just hugs him. He's like, all right, Teddy, I can see what I can do. And I think they then, like, they totally embrace each other at that point. And Teddy is sort of reliant now on Sam. And I think it's a very, very, very warm embrace. And I think the scene probably ends with Sam just being like, just go out there and practice. You know, I think I overheard the coach saying that some of the scouts are out there. Just do your best. I'll take care of the homework. I'll try to. And that's where I cut the scene.
Sweet. Yes, bro love. I don't feel the privileged athlete defended the town's good name at all. There. My best friend didn't do anything terribly risky.
Not yet.
You don't think covering for someone like that is risky?
Is it? I'm gonna give Robert final dibs on whether this card needs to flip or not, given that it was his scene.
I don't think he's done anything risky yet.
Okay.
But I'm glad that I introduced some memory loss into the story.
Yeah, this was insufficiently weird. We had traces of weird, but now we've got super obvious weird. So, I mean, I say insufficiently weird. It was already, the lake is creepy and wrong, and we don't know why. But you can't go too weird. Well, and I have this card, so I have to play it. Because it is one of my favorite cards in the game. Strange Methods. A ritual divining as obscure as it is arcane, and perhaps created from whole cloth for this occasion, but its revelatory power is undeniable, uncanny, and normally I go for Federal Agent, but I feel like this has to be Sam doing weird divinatory things. I think we see Sam out by the edge of the lake, and it's really early. There's still that layer of kind of mist over the lake. You can see the falls coming down there, and there's even larger cloud of mist. You can't even really see the tree line in places because it's just kind of that foggy morning thing. And Sam is like crouched by the side of the lake with a stack of perfect skipping stones and a Sharpie, and is writing names on each of the stones. And as he finishes, he stands up, takes a deep breath, and just starts skipping them and counting the skips. And like, there's, yeah, the drama teacher doesn't even skip, just falls straight into the water. And yeah, like, Mandy skips like twice. And Sam stares at it for a second. Stops. Special Agent skips 3 times. He kind of notes that down in a little, not even like a Moleskine kind of thing, but one of those ratty, perforated, topped, spiral bound notebooks. It's already got like half the pages ripped out of it. Still making notes with a Sharpie because he didn't think to bring another writing utensil. But he goes to skip the rock that says Teddy, and it skips fully 7 times. And it just stares for a moment. Picks up his next rock, and our scene cuts before we see what happens next.
Can I interrupt right at the end?
Interrupt, do it.
I want to play this scene card, and I think a dead animal actually washes up like onto the shore of the lake after that last skip. And
I'm gonna play a card. It's a rat.
Yeah. I think it's somewhat obvious that it didn't die of natural means. But I think it washes up as soon as he's done throwing that last rock.
Yes, and our scene cuts as we see Sam looking at the notebook, like trying to decide how you note a number of skips and a dead rat in his estimation. I don't think the dead friend. This is not dead friend. I don't think the best friend, whose friend is dead but is not playing dead friend right now, did anything terribly risky in this scene. So I'll just put that one back. And Sarah can have that poor dead rat. I'm so sorry, rat. You were too good for this. And we go to the Act 2 closing. Let me figure out where I hid that deck. Away go the Act 2 scenes, because we do not need them anymore. Hide. Act 2 close. I have so many decks for this game, you don't even know. I have to scroll way far down to find them all. So, whoever last spilled blood starts this scene. And our tone for this one is shame predominantly. Although it was a narrow one, we had a bunch of understanding too. And I'd just like to point out that though I am a hazard to myself, I haven't cut myself at all, like in the last week. I'm doing so great.
I burned myself last week. Does that count? I'll take it.
It works for me. Oh, and quick flip to see what the other side is. Shame. Include a protagonist's accidental death as you describe this scene.
All right, so we see the sheriff and the FBI agent up on the sort of just in front of the doors. There's not really a stage or anything. And they're just trying to kind of calm people down, but the volume level is kind of rising. Victor's parents are there, and a bunch of kids from school, some of the teachers, and just townspeople, some tourists too. You kind of like saw people coming up and were like, "Huh, what's going on?" They're kind of hanging back, and we just hear I think Mandy yell, just when are we gonna get any answers to what's happened? Because you guys still don't know. We still don't know what happened. And the mob kind of like just volume level rises again. Everyone's just like, yeah, we still don't know. You got the FBI in here and they're not solving anything either. And then we see someone come in. They're sort of approach through the crowd and kind of go up to the sheriff and say something in her ear. And she kind of turns back to the crowd and says, or turns to Ellen Kwan and says something in her ear. And then she turns to the crowd and says, basically, something has happened. We need to leave immediately. We'll release we'll do a press release later on today, but for now we need you all to disperse. And they go out like without really even making sure that happens. They just go, and they have found Sam's body out by the lake. One of the tourists has found Sam's body out by the lake.
And I'm gonna say that as they leave to go see this and everything, there's a shot of those beautiful pines as it kind of transitions over to tourists and lake and that kind of stuff. Because it is the town of Tall Pines, named for big, tall pine trees.
Can I also check in a mirror as we see Sam reflected with like sorrowful eyes in the lake?
Good and creepy. I assume your scene cut there since it sounded final. Oh, nope.
Yeah, when they get there though, that dead rat is still uh on the lakeside, like it's just washed up a couple feet from Sam's body.
True. And we have the question of, but who will do Teddy's homework? Yes, I was not suggesting the rat would do Teddy's homework, but that the rat was the murderer somehow. It showed up, a person died. Sounds legit. Okay. Our best friend definitely did something risky in that he died. So, I'm gonna drag him back down here. But he does not flip because he's dead. There we go. Uh, Expertly drawn X over the best friend who is now dead. But I guess could still be played into scenes if you want to have flashback scenes or invoke his creepy mirror image or whatever. The federal agent, don't think really got inside anybody's head. And I don't think the sheriff exposed any guilt. So that is the end of Act 2. Oh, that went a lot quicker than I was expecting. The game says to allow half an hour for every player, and I always find that to be a really short estimation. So when it actually hews closer to that, I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? Was he right? So how about we take another, like, just 5 or so before going into Act 3, because commercial breaks are a good thing to have in this TV show. I guess episode breaks? I don't know. So I'll see you back at something like 11 after whatever hour it is. 11, 12, sometime around there. And another reminder, too, I mean, because now everyone has some symbol cards in their hand, especially Sarah, who, oh my goodness, you're like hoarding the deck. That's wonderful, and I love it. At any point, you can return one of your symbol cards to the symbol deck if you would like to buy a new scene card, if you just want to play scenes on all of everybody's stuff all the time. Or you can continue to play a dead rat on everything, which is also rad.
So can we play more than one seed card in a turn?
Well, like, you start off with 3 scene cards, and if all 3 of you go first, and I decide to play my scene cards into your hands, I mean, into your scenes, then I have no scene cards. Oh no, how do I frame a scene? I spend, say, those tall pines back into the symbol deck and draw a new scene, and then I can play a scene. Or if you just go, these are 3 scenes, but what if I had 6? You could buy a whole bunch of scenes. And don't let me stop you.
I might turn in the fist. I will be the source of my own violence. I don't need a picture card to tell me when I can use it.
True, true. Don't let cards hold you back. I have a scene, unless someone wants to go. Wait, so... no, stop. I do not need to edit. Okay. I'm going to use a flashing red light and the federal agent. So, our scene opens again, and we have Special Agent Ellen Quad at the edge of the lake, near where Sam's body was found. They've cleaned all that up now, but there's still some like evidence markers out on the shore of the lake. There's still that dead rat here, probably because nobody thinks to clean up a dead rat at a crime scene.
Oh, interrupting thing. Can I say there's a mysterious bundle of red roses? Definitely not from Kitty, where Sam's body was.
Oh my goodness. A mysterious bundle of red roses contaminated a crime scene. Don't these people have any respect for procedure? Yeah, and she bends to look at this bundle of red roses because what if there was a note attached or something that could be an important clue? When something catches her eye from the distance and she looks across the lake. And faintly, just every now and again, there's a flash of red light kind of illuminating a little bit of the distant shore of the lake. And she's waiting to see it reappear again and if there's any pattern, something dark behind her grabs her and drags her off the scene, skewing those roses across the like evidence markers because she had picked up to look at them. Dun dun dun. Played out a new symbol because we needed one, but yes, not the competent one. Oh no. I don't think she managed to get inside the killer's head, though, which I was going to do, but then didn't. So, back to the deck she goes. And you can have your roses now, Alex.
I'll do the next one. This is probably the next day. Teddy goes out, 'cause like they have started like a proper sort of memorial thing where they found Sam's body, like they did when they found Victor's. It's like little mementos and stuffed animals and flowers and things. So he goes out to leave something, and just as he's sort of straightening back up from pile, he sees something across the lake. Like it's getting dark and the fog starting to come in very thick the way that it does. It's rolling across the surface of the lake. And it's thick enough, and he is aware that his memory is not the best, and it's probably he's probably just seeing things. He's kind of just like shakes his head, but he sees that light and then something else moving in the fog. It's impossible to tell what it is, but it looks big and it's silent. He's definitely imagining it. But he straightens up and like leaves the flowers and leaves very quickly. We just see him disappear into the fog. Cutscene.
I was looking to play some of my cards in and going, oh no, this seems like a pretty tight image as it is. So, our privileged athlete definitely did not defend the town's name at all. And I'm just gonna loudly, because it's a mechanic we haven't really done much of yet, discard one of my symbols to draw a new scene. That way I have different ways to interrupt you guys' scenes. So I no longer have the stand of pines.
I might do the same with the roses, because I'm desperately trying to gather enough cards so I can play some secrets.
I guess I'll go ahead and do the next scene unless somebody else wants to. I'm going to play 1,000 Tiny Cuts. People are leaving in 2s and 3s and carloads. Well, it was only one person who was murdered, now 2. It may yet be the town that was killed. And I'm going to say this is a scene between Ellen Kwan, the federal agent, and the sheriff. And I really think the framing for this scene is they're bickering back and forth in the sheriff's office with Ellen Kwan basically saying, look, you need to get your town under control. I'm here to do this investigation, not you. You failed the investigation. That's why they called in me. Get your town under control, or else you're not even going to have a town to worry about. And I think the sheriff is hesitant to argue back because even she realizes that the federal agent kind of has a point here. And then she finally just responds, "You don't even know who did it. You don't know anything about this. You figure out your stuff, and I'll figure out mine." And I think I'd call it as quickly as that, even.
I'm just gonna don't necessarily need more fiction or anything, but play the crossed fingers behind the back because at least one of them is not necessarily lying, but holding back significant truths at this point, I feel.
And I want to play a scene off of that as well. The Fraternal Order. An invitation to meet with someone about the case leads you into a room full of the townsmen. They're not pleased with your progress. So I think this is as the sheriff going to like the city council meeting that night and just trying to explain to them what is going on without telling them that they've gotten absolutely nowhere. And the concern is raised that like people are leaving, the tourists are leaving, the tourists have been gone for days. The town is emptying out, and it's like what is usually the height of the season too. So it's like the worst time. And how are we supposed to survive this? You have to solve this. Scene.
Say Robert Ian ultimately gets to choose when a scene ends and whether he'd like to elaborate, because he's the director of the scene. But since he already called it, Ian.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So, housekeeping stuff. We've got understanding, shame, resolve, and resolve. Does that trigger a secret for anyone before I start stealing cards? Okay. Whoops. No, stop. Why are you doing this to me? I don't think the sheriff exposed guilt in the town. And I don't think the federal agent got inside the killer's head. I do have a clarifying question, though. Is this before or after the federal agent was dragged away into the unknown? They are equally valid options.
I think it was definitely before.
Okay.
I think, am I the last one? Either way, I've got a scene. Finally gonna get this freaking secret out there. Nothing is gonna stop me. We've got the numbing sounds of human industry. Time has passed and things have resumed their old rhythm. Most, anyway. Maybe it is easier just to forget. And I think we are at school with Georgia and Mandy. I think this is after at least a couple of days, maybe a week has passed since Sam's body was found. And after all of these tourists are like vacating, there's a whole bunch of pressure on the school to like do something, anything to like bring back some tourists, some big event. And so I think they're discussing in class some kind of festival or like carnival or big fun thing they can all do together to like draw back some tourists, get the town going again. And we just
I'm
have...
just gonna quickly at the start cut in to let you know that one of the characters in this scene is possessed. That is misspelled. That bugs me so much. Anyway, The possession card is in play, so show me how that works out as you continue the scene.
Oh. One of them is possessed.
To
All right,
a
I've got
viewing
it.
audience that may never exist, it says, what if the killer isn't just one person, but some kind of animating force? How else do you explain the burning in your mind, the sudden violence in your hands?
So I think we've got Mandy sitting in the back of the class, going through footage. I think he's got a camera back by now. And is just like trying to find anything on Sam because he was focused so much on Victor. Wasn't even considering if someone was targeting anyone else. It's like playing it on loop, like the 7 frames that appear in all of the footage. And desperately trying to find out anything. I think we see the teacher walk past and just grab the camera out of her hands. They're like, we aren't focusing on this anymore. We've got more important things to do. To which, bad influence. We can see, like, as the audience, like, this red glow in their eyes. You can see they aren't entirely themselves. Like, stands up, chair shooting backwards, glaring daggers into the teacher. Being like, not important? Not important? Is my death not important? And grabs the chair and just hurls it across the room at them. I think we'll cut there.
So, because it affects whether we flip these cards, who was throwing the chair? I mean, the possessed person.
Yes, that was Georgia.
Okay, and she did something violent in this scene, because throwing a chair is violent. So I'm going to flip that card. I assume that the 3 shames is what you need to unlock your secret, though, Alex. So.
Yes.
And did our student filmmaker uncover the town's secrets?
I mean, he tried, but I don't think so.
Okay. Remove those other cards. Cool, so show us your secret card.
Yeah. It's very small. I'm not sure how to fix that. Oh, thank you. Use a protagonist and choose 3 symbol cards and use them to create a scene that answers the question below. Who do you accuse of being the killer in front of everyone? And how do they prove you wrong? Oh. These are some really tricky symbol cards to work in. Oh, wait, I've got it. So I think we've got Georgia accusing Teddy. Type him up. I mean, Georgia was possessed, so Georgia question mark. Is it Victor? Who knows? So I think it wasn't like too widely known, but like you heard rumors of Teddy and Sam being a thing. Like, no matter how hard you try, if you're meeting up at school, it's going to get out. I think there was especially rumors about a shack in the woods, mostly grown over, where they would meet every now and then. And I think Georgia found the key to this shack. I think some reporter or like student journalist also noted that Sam was holding this key at the crime scene. Oh, and the key, instead of being like a name of like where it opens, has just got an image of the forked tree in the woods to like as a landmark of the shack. But George is holding this key, I think, on the same day that she threw the chair before like the teachers or principals managed to like do anything about the situation. Storms over to, I'm guessing Teddy's like practicing on the field or like is some kind of PE class, and just throws the key at pronouns at his feet. It's like, I found this. I know it's you. You can't hide this anymore. And about all of your sordid connections. Were you worried about blackmail? Why did you do this? Why did you kill everyone? And then Teddy, with like tearing up, is like, where did you find this? That's my key. Cutscene there.
Sweet. You can have all of those symbol cards if you like.
Sure.
And did everybody already narrate a scene for this act? I think so. Cool. Then that triggers the Act 3 close. Dun dun dun. Before then, even though your secret hasn't been triggered, would anyone like to play their secret scene just for the sake of playing a secret scene? Because I'm for having extra bonus scenes if you want, because why not? They're rad.
Yeah, I'll go. Well, I don't know what mine is, but
Sure.
I'll
I mean,
go
feel
put
free
it
to
on
play it onto the deck, flip it over, and see if you actually care about the answer. Doink. I think I'm going to decline to play mine out because it's where are you when you receive the envelope full of photos, and who do they show in a compromising position with the victim? And I'm just not super interested with the answer. I want to know what's up with that Freaky Lake thing right now.
Yeah, mine is just about the victim's past lovers and which one's the most scandalous. I kind of want to just move forward with what we've got going.
Okay, cool. I just hate to leave a good secret on the table if someone's been holding a real whammy in their hand the whole game. Okay. Act 3 close. Hide that deck because we don't need it anymore. Cool. And our predominant tone is just by a hair. Shame, once again. So whoever last forgave someone starts this scene. I love the long silence because this is clearly a group that holds grudges and gives forgiveness never. And I almost choked at the "I never forgive anyone" pile on in the chat, which is wonderful. I love it. I do have a different Act 3 close if people would like to see that and pick from the two.
Sure, why not?
I mean, I was going, we could roll a d4 or something, but why not have extra options? Because why the heck not? This one, however, is whoever was last on video, which is another toss-up because we are all, on fact, in video at this time. I will say, though, that if anyone sees these prompts and super wants to explain how they work, feel free to call dibs, even if you did not forgive anyone ever in your life, because we all hold grudges and hate everything. Or even if you were never on video besides this one time now, which is a lie for all of us, but whatever. I will also say, these do indicate that there is a concrete killer. Feel free to indicate that the killer is merely possessing these people, the killer is actually the lake monster. I mean, I don't know what. Make it as weird as you want. This is a game of weird shit.
I think I've got something for the second option. Video.
Do it.
Okay, so
flip it to see what our shame prompt is. Include the attempted destruction of the message, if you care to. Our second one is understanding, though, which is include something impossible occurring on the video, and I will let you pick between those two, because they were really almost tied.
Yeah. I think I might do both, actually, because they're both good. All right, so this is later that day. Mandy is going over the video again. And he finds at the very end of everything he's recorded, it's Victor. And it's nothing he ever remembers recording. Victor's sitting by the lake, and it's very whoever's holding the camera, because it's definitely not Mandy, is just joking with him, and Victor's laughing, and then he turns toward the camera and says Mandy's name, and says, with that red sort of glint in his eyes, "This place was mine before it was ever yours. All these people have come, more the hordes in the summer, the tourists. You're going to leave now, all of you." And Z takes the camera and turns it back toward the lake, and it becomes apparent that there was nothing actually holding the camera on the other side, or there is no person, just this. The fog comes rolling in, and it gets so gray. It's like the camera's been shoved into nothing. It gets quiet and it's silent, and you can't even hear the sound of the water against the shore. And Mandy takes the camera and goes out to the lake and just chucks it in as far as he can throw it. And we hear this just plop, and it sinks below the water. And then nothing. Just the quiet. And we see, as Mandy turns to go, the body of a rat carried on the water to the shore.
So, that concludes Tall Pines. This game has a built-in debrief structure. Not really structure, but some discussion questions, if you care to discuss those. And I am a super fan of Stars and Wishes, so we're definitely going to do a round of that if we've got a bit of time for it. But this game asks, who killed the victim? Are there multiple suspects? Did your assumptions of guilt change during play? And I'm going to say that I think who killed the victim right now is probably like the lake thing possessing people, but I don't know. I don't know. For a while I was thinking maybe it was Teddy, and then I was going, it's definitely not the rat, but I'm hoping it's like the bad luck rat that just people turn up dead after they see it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking it was maybe Sam, and then he died, and then maybe Teddy. Definitely not the federal agent.
Ultimately, it was the tourists. So
the sheriff was right the whole time.
Yeah, I think definitely probably multiple suspects just because of the possession. I did think for a while that it would be Teddy just because of the memory loss thing. Maybe he did it and didn't remember.
Maybe it was. Maybe the lake was possessing him to kill.
Yeah. I think Booker's murder might have been Teddy, but Teddy wasn't all of the murders? I don't know. Oh, which leads into our second question. If there were other deaths, were they all the work of the same killer? And I think the answer is probably not.
Same like monster ghost thing, but different meat puppets.
Yeah, that's the best and grossest way of phrasing what I was trying to say. Who was your favorite protagonist? Who was your favorite supporting character? And which character do you trust the least? Are all one question. We didn't really have any supporting characters aside from the vice principal. It was all the protagonists all the time, which I'm into. I mean, only make NPCs if they seem important.
I think Sam is probably my favorite.
I'm a big fan of Mandy.
I think it was between Sam and Mandy for me. They were both pretty great.
Yeah,
but also Teddy.
Yeah, Sam and Teddy for me. And best supporting character, definitely the dog at the beginning.
Actually, best supporting character, I'm going to say the rat, because the rat was very important, even though it was dead in every scene.
I was just about to say that. Rat is the best supporting character.
So, what threads were dropped, and what strange unhappenings went unexplained? I mean, I don't think anything was really explained here. We just... The lake is weird, and people died. Tourism is terrible.
The memory loss, we didn't really... Maybe we did, but not on screen.
We never know what happened to the federal agent.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting she'd come back in, and she didn't, which is creepy and cool.
I just had a thought. I should have made the person speaking into the camera at the end the federal agent. Redcon.
We have script change. We can make it happen.
True, you can swap it out. It could have been the federal agent if you wanted to all along.
Swap it out.
It's
But
still
possessed.
the lake monster talking.
Just to bring her back, yeah.
Did you consciously draw on pop culture in creating bits of story? Did you consciously draw on real life experiences? I assume none of you have ever murdered people while possessed, but I mean, I'm not going to assume how your lives have gone.
And people throw chairs at school, but that's about the closest I've gotten. Also, the chairs. They were definitely drawn on from real life experiences.
Yeah, the terrible chairs were real life experiences, but I think that was where it ended for me. Besides lake mist and failing to skip stones. I've never attempted stone divination, though.
A lot of fog references from real life for me.
Oh, ever-present pines were a real life thing because they're everywhere.
Yeah, I have seen chairs thrown in school, and I have done homework for the football player.
I'm delighted because I wasn't sure if that was a real thing or just a TV thing, but now it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
So if this were a TV series, would it get another season? Would there be any spin-offs for specific characters?
I could totally see a spin-off for the federal agent of, like, before coming to this town and chasing the serial killer, which is actually a lake ghost.
There would probably be a second season, though, just because that cliffhanger.
Yeah, and the second season would have a lot of, but how do we tell who is possessed currently? Is it you? Is it me? Is it everyone? Sort of stuff. So
And who stays behind?
Some kind of doomsday clock as the tourists leave.
So that concludes the game's built-in debrief questions. But I like Stars and Wishes. I mean, wishes don't necessarily make a ton of sense for one-shots. So I guess thorns / wishes / whatever sort of question seems appropriate to you. Sarah apparently hates Stars and Wishes. This goes on the record that Sarah is against debrief. I'm sure she'll be back in a moment. So, there she is. We talked shit about you in the interim.
No, just 2 seconds I was gone.
Ryan talked shit about you in the interim.
That's what I'm best at. So, since you apparently hate Stars and Wishes, I'm going to start with Stars at Sarah's end. And then we'll go reverse alphabetical order and then come back. So, Alex will be in the middle this time.
That moment in the classroom, Alex, where you had Georgia, I think, say, my death. I think it's you next, Ryan, right?
Oh man, I was used to the GM standing alone outside of alphabet order. But I guess I can go. I think star to Robert for introducing memory loss, because that is super weird and mysterious and completely on tone. And I wish I'd leaned harder into it, because that was an awesome introduction. That Teddy just doesn't know what's happened. But the real priority is who will do his homework. Like, I love / hate Teddy for that.
I'll do a star for the way in which that scene, the whole scene was put together with the shack in the woods and the key. Like, that was a tough group of symbols to put together, and it was done extremely well.
I'm gonna go star for Ryan for the Skipping Rocks divination scene. That was awesome. I love weird divination stuff. It's the best.
I will admit that's my favorite card in the game for a reason, and I'm always kind of bummed when it doesn't show up. And I'm always super excited when it does. But hey, you get to lead us off on wishes as we go in reverse in proper alphabetical order this time.
Oh yeah. Wishes.
Or thorns, or whatever sort of feedback you choose to provide. I mean, whatever. Vagueness.
I wish I could have played more than one act thing. Well, more than one scene per act, because man, there are a lot of cool cards in this game. There's a whole bunch of stuff about like tracking the killer in dreams in my hand. And it's like, I want to play all of these. But I couldn't.
You could have, right?
I wanted to get all the shame out there. I needed all the shame. Yeah, that's my /wish.
Belated star to Alex for going, there's shame in this game? I picked the right game. And then aggressively playing shame all the time. And picking the totally shame card.
Yeah, I picked the 3 shame secret, which meant I was desperately trying to get shame into everything. But I never drew shame until the last act.
Wishes for me is that I had played more. I wish I had played more image cards. Sometimes it's really hard. I mean, I think with the way of playing online, it feels a little bit harder to interrupt people. And this game has a lot of interruption just built in. So that was a little bit tricky for me. So yeah, I kind of wish I had played more interrupts and played into other people's scenes more.
And I'll say I wish I'd played heavily into the memory loss angle because that was such a promising angle and I didn't lean hard into it, and I wish I had. But also my standard wish for more wishes, and that I wish I played with Robert more often because you're awesome in every game I see you in, and I rarely see you because, you know, time zones are terrible.
Thank you.
You're rad.
Mine is, I think, a purely technological wish. I wish Roll20 worked for me. Sorry for sticking you with that, Ryan.
Nah, Roll20 is a hateful beast, and fuck it. But also, thank you to Roll20 for letting me build all these really bizarre decks. I have like 30 decks for this game. It's ridiculous. And that is Tall Pines. So I'm going to cut the broadcast. I usually don't put stars and wishes on broadcast, but it seems sort of appropriate in this one, given that it has a built-in debrief structure. So if anyone is watching this and going, but where do I play awesome games like this? Gauntlet Hangouts. You can join. You don't even need to be a Patreon member. You can just get into the waitlist. Or sometimes they're doing games with slots open as they start. Get in one of them. Play cool stuff. You too can try to insert a dead rat into every scene you see.